Hey guys, Lego Lover 117 here today for another audio commentary. And this audio commentary is going to kick off a 6-part audio commentary series type thing on the first 6 episodes of my Thomas and Friends Wooden Railway series, Thomas and Friends Engine and Adventures. To clarify, these are the remastered versions. These are the ones that I consider to be canon, not the original versions, which I do not like in the slightest. So as I said, this first commentary is on Fergus Takes the Express, first episode canonically in the series. Let's go ahead and jump right into it here.
It was just another day on the island of Sodor, and oh, the engines were working hard.
So just to go ahead and start out here, I really like this atmosphere I was able to capture with the narrow gauge engines working on their railway. I was really impressed at how I did that.
Was at the top station talking with his friend Fergus. Ever since the cement works had been closed for blasting, Fergus had been reassigned to bring goods up and down.
I kind of wish I would have worked on these eyes just a little bit more. I would have made their eyes move a little quicker.
Seeing Star Trek Beyond. I told you, Duke, I missed it in theaters. Driver hasn't been able to find it in any store. Oh man, you're totally missing out. Amazing summer flick.
Obligatory pop culture reference as I do in my series, because as it says in the intro, this is based loosely off of the Railway series by the Reverend W. Audrey.
Oh, you better get out of the way there, Fergus. Gordon's not due for another 5 minutes. Besides, how would you even be able to hear his whistle? You're like 100, right? I'm old, but I'm not that old. Your constant references to
I'm actually really impressed at how I was able to make Duke's eyelids close, make it look okay. So this Gordon segment, I'll go ahead and give some behind the scenes tidbit here. This was longer in the script. This was actually a lot longer in the script now that I think about it. And the reason it's so shorter, it was probably cut down, I don't know, about a few lines, maybe a couple seconds. The reason it's shorter in the actual finalized version is because I forgot to shoot some scenes with Gordon. That'll be a theme that you'll hear throughout most of these audio commentaries is, oh, I forgot to shoot this, or I forgot to film that. Whenever I record things, I'm not good at remembering what I have already shot or what I haven't shot. So, pretty much throughout this entire audio commentary series, you'll hear me say, oh yeah, that scene was reshot, or we actually forgot to film that scene, or something along those lines. Like, this suffered kind of just because of how short that Gordon run-up scene was. I wish it was longer. Maybe I'll do a remastered of the remaster. Wouldn't that be something?
Fergus was an old Brendam shunting yard where he usually worked with Cody, the normal shunting.
Now, if you noticed earlier in the background of the narrow gauge railway, if you looked back where the sheds were, you wouldn't have seen that brown shelf that you just saw earlier in a previous shot here at Old Brendam Shunting Yards. That's because the narrow gauge segments for this story were shot in, I believe, December 2016, and this footage you're seeing now was probably filmed, I don't know, in summer 2017, I would think, because I had the brown shelf at that point. You can see just a pile of comics sitting there. That's before that bottom part of the brown shelf became the Wii game section of that shelf. The shelf is full now. I'm just looking over at it. Now it's full of Blu-rays and such, but way back when, I actually had room on it. I could do whatever I wanted with it, but now I don't have room for it because it's been filled. But thought that was a little bit of behind-the-scenes information you guys would be interested in. Fergus Takes the Express was not all shot at once. It was shot over multiple months.
You should consider moving out of Gordon's way prior to him arriving. Fergus was speechless. He was so cross with Coldy that the two didn't speak to each other for the rest of the day. That evening, Fergus went home to his shed and thought long and hard about how to...
Me using the waterfall tunnel as Fergus's shed is actually a throwback to the original version of this. It's one of the things I remember about it. I haven't watched that video in years, but I remember in the original version of Fergus Takes the Express, released in 2012, I believe it was, I used the waterfall tunnel for Fergus's shed, and it was kind of an unintentional reference, but a reference nonetheless.
Could you take his
You guys know how much I love my references.
Didn't really want to help Gordon, especially about what had happened yesterday.
As a matter of fact, speaking of references, here comes a reference right now. I have the high ground.
Right on that, sir.
It's over, Anakin.
Meanwhile, Gordon had just arrived at Napper. What's the matter, Gordon? You're not looking too well. Oh, it's nothing, James. Just a little clanking, that's all. Clanking? Heh, sounds a little
So now that we've kind of entered a lull point in the episode, I'll talk about my inspiration for this story, and I want to do that in every single one of these commentaries for every single one of these stories, because every single story that I write has a story behind it. For Fergus Takes the Express, I have had the idea for this story since childhood, actually. Ooh, I really like this upcoming shot here, this shot with Fergus going over the bridge. I don't know what I like so much about it, it came out perfectly.
About time, Coldy. You almost made me late. Sorry to
Going back to what I was talking about earlier, this episode I've had an idea for ever since I was a kid. Ever since I can remember playing with my little trains on my train table up in the room where my Xbox 360 is currently, before we moved the train table to the basement.
Can I get a name in for that one? Who says amen after a roast? I mean, I thought I added more.
This joke is severely underrated. Not a lot of people talk about this joke. It's pretty funny in my opinion. Who says amen after a roast?
I have to have it completely quiet to hear the guard's whistle. Really? You going deaf in your old age, Gordon?
But I keep getting off track with this topic, talking about the inspiration for this. This came, oh shoot, here's another thing I need to comment on. Gordon leaving the station. The sound effect lineup with this worked perfectly. The sound effect I found works perfectly with this scene.
Then there was trouble.
I mean, wow. I'm impressed it lined up that perfectly. So, now, returning to the topic I was talking about earlier. Had this idea ever since I was a kid. I can remember ever since I was young, wanting to start a Wooden Railway series after I found Geekrate 24's videos, or Thomas Wooden Railway, it was known now. And Fergus Takes the Express was one of the ideas I had ever since I was young. So, in 2012, I made it into a story, and now in 2018, just last year, I made it into an even better story. I'm not too proud of the Sir Topham Hatt voice that I do. I know some people find it funny. I make him sound like an idiot. And it would work if my series was 100% parody and nothing was supposed to be taken seriously, which a lot of my series is parody. It's satire, but I don't know. I'm not proud of that voice. I'm also not proud of that recording I made for Sir Topham Hatt. It's really, you can really hear the cuts where I stutter. I wish I would have taken more time to try and make that come out clean.
Fergus, he's much too small to pull the train. What's this about me being small? Do I need to get triggered? No, Fergus, no need to get triggered. This workman just suggested that you should pull the express. Now, I'm sure we both know that that's just insane, so I'll do it. Wait, what? I'll pull the express. The coaches aren't that heavy. Anyway, I'm sure I can do it. So Gordon's coaches run
Even though it's unrealistic that Fergus could actually pull the express, I'm surprised nobody brought that up in the comments. Like, how can Fergus pull the express? It actually makes more sense in my series, though, because this is only 2 coaches. And if you guys know this episode, Edward comes in later and gives Fergus some advice on how to move the coaches himself.
The coaches were heavier now that they had passengers, and Fergus found it difficult to start the train. He hadn't made it very far when Edward arrived.
Hadn't made it very far. He hadn't even left the station yet.
What's with all the commotion? Gordon's brake snapped on, so Fergus is gonna try to take the express for him. That's a very big job, Fergus. Are you sure?
I'm pretty proud of my Edward voice. I didn't really go for a classic series vibe. I went for more of a CGI voice with him. I'm pretty proud of that voice, though. I'm really proud of my Gordon voice and more or less my Edward voice. I feel like I should get more voice acting roles, but I don't.
Pull the other along with me. That made the journey much easier. That's a brilliant idea, Edward. So Fergus's driver took Edward's advice and loosened the couplings between the coaches. As Fergus pulled, he helped to start the first coach, and the first helped the second.
Now we get the Flying Kipper theme, I think it is, that I used here.
Hurrah, we're off! Hurrah,
There's 2006 Oliver cameo and New Style Stanley cameo.
Just a little bit. However, he was able to get the coaches over the hill. Fergus traveled across the island and soon arrived.
Here's another victim of not shooting enough for this. I wanted to make the Fergus going across the island longer, but obviously that didn't happen. I'm really proud of this docks set I have. I feel like with the sound effects of the waves and the seagulls and the wind and all that, I feel like I really set the stage, saying that yes, this is the docks. I'm also proud of the track layout too.
I must be collapsing from heat exhaustion, because I'm seeing some strange things right now. Oh no, my little friend. You're only seeing what's right in front of you. 'Tis I, the Flying Scotsman. Scotsman's here to take over the Express, Fergus. Really? Oh, that's a relief.
In all reality, Scotsman has really no purpose in being in this episode. I'm pretty sure I just wanted to throw him in here because I think I wrote this around the time of the Great Race coming out.
Not at all. I like engines.
So I just thought, hey, why not throw Scotsman in here because Scotsman's cool.
It's a Flying Scotsman. Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just really irritable right now. Oh, I can understand. Pulling the Express is a hard job, but I could have never imagined a small traction engine like you being able to pull it off. Please stop before you trigger me. I'm honestly getting very angry right now. I meant no disrespect, my dear boy. Anywho, I best be off. Fergus, would you mind slinking off into that siding over there for me? Fergus left the coaches and slunk on to a siding out of the way as Flying Scotsman backed down onto the train.
Another shot I forgot. Fergus moving out of the way.
One last thing. Do you know where...
Oh, here's another shot I forgot too. If you notice that the camera quality changes a little bit here, that's because that's a reshoot. I had to build a small set and hide as much as I could to show that this was shot on a different day. Because originally I completely forgot to take that picture of Scotsman. Like I said, this is a running theme throughout my episodes. I just forget everything, apparently. I need to keep a log of scenes I've shot and what I needed to shoot. It just...
After a few hours of rest, Fergus was finally able to limp his way back to his shed. There was no way he was going to do any other work. Next morning, Fergus was passing through Nafford Station.
That car almost came off the rails there, but, you know, that's the charm. Hey, you can see my laptop in the back. I didn't even notice that until now. You can see my laptop with the script pulled up in the back. Wow. My series is so unprofessional, but that's the charm of it. That's what people like about it, I guess. I'm looking at the video page now. This thing has 51 likes. Wow, I'm surprised. Thank you, guys, for all the support for this series. It makes me want to do more. It really does.
How's about I'll work hard to leave the station before
And of course, in the classic Lego Lover sense, we gotta have a moral here that isn't really shoved down your throat, but it's Thomas, and I want my series to pull off a classic series vibe with some satirical, relevant humor. I mean, overall, I want my series to be funny. Obviously, I want that. That's number one. But I also want it to be taken to a nth of serious.
He's a really nice guy. See you later. That seemed odd. Wait, you met my brother?
Here's another scene that was shot in 2016 because of the Christmas tree there. I believe this was shot over Christmas break when I had some time on my hands to actually film this.
Come on now, Fergus, don't be daft. There's no way you could have generated enough power to even fathom pulling the Express. You'd be surprised, old-timer. Those coaches aren't as heavy as you think. I may be going a bit senile in my old age, but there's no force on this island that would ever convince me that you pulled the Express.
Oh, there's Gordon sitting in the background there. He's waiting for his big entrance.
Hello, Gordon. Have you heard the crazy delusion Fergus has been spreading? What, that I have a brother who may or may not be Flying Scotsman? Well, no, although he did mention that. No, I was referring to the lie that he pulled the Express. Those words even sound crazy when I say it.
I do think, though, that Duke's mouth is a little bit too big whenever he smirks. This was when I was just kind of getting used to doing facial expressions.
Because I know I did not just hear you say that. No, Duke, it's true. Save it. I better go to the Steamworks and get my hearing checked. But Duke, wait!
It's funny because Duke's old.
Oh, the indignity.
That's a really good ending line, too. I really like how that matched up there with the end. And then these are just the standard credits, nothing... I don't think there's any Easter eggs in here. Just the classic Fergus as himself and such that I kind of came up with. Flying Scotsman is Gordon's brother. There's a little Easter egg there for you. So that is your audio commentary that you guys get for Fergus Takes to the Express. I hope this was a little bit informative. You got some behind-the-scenes information. I kind of just rambled on throughout this entire thing, but, that's every audio commentary ever. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope this provided some insight into the production of this episode, and please tune in next week for Episode 2's commentary, Trouble at Arsdale. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, good night, everybody.